Okay. Good morning. Welcome to day 94 of this conference. It feels like, I hope everybody got a good sleep, a good rest after a long day and a half that we've had so far. I just wanted to start off today by going over a summary of what we'll be doing today, our last day. We're going to start out with just a very brief debrief about what's gone on so far. I would like to hear any comments or questions or thoughts about what we've been hearing and talking about in this last day and a half, just to sort of center us before we move into our final sort of set of activities that will move us into the future. So after our debrief, which would just take about 10 minutes or so, we're going to have a set of discussions, and these discussion topics are basically born out of the questions that you guys wrote individually yesterday, and Maggie and Louisa have put together, sort of compiled them and synthesized them into a number of different topics. And Emily is going to walk us through these so that you guys can get a sense of what the different topics are and choose your own group, choose which of these discussion groups you'd like to participate in. We'll then be reporting out from these different groups, and at the end we'll be reporting out on the white paper group. There'll be 2 sessions for writing the white paper, and I'll talk about that more in just a minute. But we'll all have a chance to take a look at the work of the white paper group and provide comments and input for that, because I think that in a way is the most important sort of concrete result of what we've been talking about here, that we want to use that and we want to make sure that everybody and every center that's represented here has the opportunity to provide input for that, because that I think is what's going to take us forward. At the very end, we'll have we'll do some evaluation. We have of course, we have to do evaluation with an education gathering like this. So we have a brief evaluation form that we'll be giving out, and finally, we'll be having closing remarks. So, are there any questions about that general plan? You might notice that we've actually cut out a bit of time here, so you're being set free just a little bit early. We know that some people have talked about wanting to go out and take a look at the mountains or go for a hike or explore Salt Lake City, so you'll have a little bit more time this afternoon than we had planned. Is there any objection to that, rather than sitting in an indoor room instead of going out into the mountains? Okay, great. Any questions about the format for today? And again, Emily will be providing more details. So what I'd love to do is just hear any sort of general comments or specific questions or observations that have sort of stemmed from the work that we've done in the last day and a half, particularly on the panel last night. There was a lot of food for thought. Just wanted to know if anybody here had anything that they would like to share about what they heard last night or during the conference. Noah, I think you can just stand up. Yeah.
Thank you. Noah Finkelstein from Boulder. I was impressed with the panel last night. First off, not to be too glib, but to have folks in administration and the government get it so well well, it makes me jealous. So the comment that I had was really, well, comment and question related to that. A number of the challenges that were raised, I thought could be addressed by turning and working on language and labeling. And in this sense, not just about teachers, but teaching generally, and to start using the word professional and professionalization around the nature of what the kinds of practices are that we're engaged in, that the teachers that we collaborate with are engaged in. This is something that teaching, to me, it isn't a money game. It isn't simply salary. We could raise the salary quite high and it wouldn't be any better. It wouldn't be bad. I certainly wouldn't object to it. But people choose to engage for all kinds of reasons. And if we, if we raise the cultural value of the teaching profession, both for those people who are coming out of our programs, those teachers that we work with, for ourselves as we engage in these kinds of practices at the university along the way, I think that that will have tremendous value and address many of the challenges that face us in recruitment, in cultural value, in creating collectives along the way. And the nice thing about that professionalization is that there may well be, at least Lee Shulman produces a really nice framework around this notion of what is it to be a professional. in teaching in a variety of other areas. That might be a thread that we could sort of collectively try and pull on. The question or challenge is, how is it that we shift from something that has been historically disregarded to something that is now considered an elevated profession?
Thanks, Noah. Very good comment. Any other thoughts? Okay, Emily, would you help us move into the next phase?
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about these breakout groups and how the these topics emerged based on all of the questions that were compiled yesterday. First of all, we have the group for collaboration and sharing program assessment strategies. This will be looking at assessments that have been used or could be used, strategies and how we can work collectively. And some of us are asking for help, and some of us are experts and have a lot of expertise that we can share. So I invite all of you to consider participating in that group. The second discussion topic during our first breakout, 8:45 to 9:45, we'll be looking at planning individual and/or collective research. So looking at strategies we can use for planning, for grants, as groups of centers, as individual centers. And again, during this time, there will also be a group working on the white paper writing. And for our second session of these breakouts, we will have the project and center sustainability strategy. So again, looking at program sustainability, looking at the financial side of things, working with stakeholders. And for our fourth topic, considering plans for future collective work, examining ways that we can maintain the connections that we've started to build here at our conference. The way we'll be working this is we have the ballroom, this section of the ballroom, and two classrooms which are down the hall. So the group that chooses to focus on our first white paper writing group will stay here in the ballroom with Nalini. And those two breakout topics will be in the classrooms, and we have posted the questions or the topics on the doors. So these are the Alpine and Bonneville rooms. If you go up the stairs and take a right, you can select the topic you would like to address and find the appropriate classroom. We'll be discussing these for an hour, then we'll have a break. Hopefully our coffee will be here in time. And then we will be regrouping. And so again, self-assemble wherever you would like to go for those three parts if you'd like to work on the paper or discuss some of those topics. Are there any questions about how this is going to work?
I don't think everybody can read those topics. Can you
go
over those?
Okay. So for discussion session 1, 8:45 to 9:45, we have the white paper writing group in here. In either the Alpine or Bonneville, we have the group for looking at collaboration and sharing program assessment strategies. And then we also have another group planning individual and/or collective research. For our second segment of these breakouts, again, there will be an opportunity to work on white paper in here. We also have project and center sustainability strategies and plans for future collective work. Lisa.
So Emily, I believe that we're asking groups to make large paper notes and to prepare a report to give to everyone at 11, looks like. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. And we do have the easels and the large paper in the classrooms, and there's also 2 sets in here. And if you all could nominate a note taker for your group as well, we would appreciate those notes afterwards. Okay.
Great.
I mean, you want to talk about
Yeah, I'll just talk about that.
So are people clear on these topics? Do you want to go over these topics in more detail, or do you? What our thought was these came from all of you, and we would like the people who choose those groups to really form and shape those topics the way you wish. These are not prescriptive. We're not trying to lay anything on you. So if you all feel comfortable with the way they're laid out, we'd be happy to leave them that way and let you take off. Yeah, Christos?
I have a question. Isn't like the white paper, what they do depend on the discussions of time?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the white paper in just a second. And did you have a question?
I had a question about, it seems like the research that I would be doing would be related to assessment. So it seems like there's a lot of overlap between those two categories.
Is there any way we could move one of those morning sessions and swap it with one of the tennis?
Oh, that's a good
sessions?
idea.
'Cause
Very
they're
good,
kind of
Holly.
overlapping.
So let's swap out the planning individual and or collective research and move that to the later session and move up the project and center sustainability strategies to the first session. Is that clear? And maybe, Emily, you could change that on the doors when you get a moment. So I just wanted to talk, yes, Christos?
Is it collaboration on assessment strategies or collaboration between centers? Does the end connect the
It's both. So both, we tried the best we could to synthesize all the questions. And so some people seem to want to get some information about assessment strategies, others wanted to collaborate on assessment strategies. So the topic would be around assessment strategies and however the discussion.
So it's not collaboration between centers, it's collaboration about the assessment.
No, it's both. It's both.
It's both.
Yes.
Good question. So I just wanted to talk about the white paper a little bit. A white paper, how many people here have participated in writing white papers out of conferences? Great, I'm glad that there's some experience here. A white paper by definition is an authoritative report or guide that helps solve a problem. So an authoritative report or guide that helps solve a problem. It's often used to educate readers and help make decisions and may be a consultation for new legislation. So a white paper tends to have a flavor of movement of information from a group of people who know what they're talking about to inform legislators to make a decision about some sort of policy or law that's going to be enacted. And what I'm seeing a white paper as being is pulling together ideas, thoughts, experiences, and guidance, not just for policymakers. I think that what we have here, because we're so young, this is the first time we've gotten together, and that there are going to be many potential avenues for this information, this experience that we are collectively putting together for a variety of audiences. One of those audiences might eventually be policymakers, that we might want to have what we say as leaders in Centers for Science and Math Education. We might want to direct that information to policymakers about particular laws in your state or at the federal level. But I would like to see this white paper be used more broadly. That is, for example, should we want to put together a proposal for the National Science Foundation to get together all of the centers around the country to have a similar conference such as this, that we could draw upon sort of the dough of the white paper to form the bagel or the croissant that would be suitable for the NSF program officer to take a look at. Or we might want to go to our administrators. As Noah said, it was wonderful to have our upper level administrators understand what people who are in Centers for Science and Math Education, what our unique role is in this business. So that somebody, Noah at his school at Colorado, might use the white paper that we put together, might use some of the language, some of the ideas to present a paper in some format that would be suited to his administrators to understand why his center is so important and what is the work of the collective centers. And by having this group put this together, I think it has more weight, it has more authority than what an individual center director might be able to tell a university administrator. So what we're really trying to do with the white paper is put together the ingredients that we've been assembling during this last 2 days and make literally a dough of information that could be formed into different formats, different pieces of bread, I guess, of different kinds to offer to legislators or program officers or administrators or teachers or whatever might be relevant. So we're not trying to put together something specific for a specific piece of legislation, but rather put something together that comes from all of us collectively here that could be used and managed for your individual purposes or some collective purpose in the future. Does that sound like something useful to come out of this? I really hope that we can put that together, that it won't be just one voice, our voice here at Utah or your voice there in Colorado, but it will be a collective and very strong voice. So that's really hard work. Any of you who has done this before, who has tried to work and write collectively, you know that's a difficult task. We're not expecting to come out with polished writing at the end of a couple of hours, but what I deeply and profoundly hope is that we can be inclusive enough in terms of the voice that emerges that we can then flesh that out and we won't be wrongly misinterpreting or leaving out voices that might be important. So that's going to be the work of the white paper groups. Any further questions? Maggie?
So, I just want to clarify, we've got it separated into two parts so that you can choose to be part the first hour and not the second hour. You can choose to be part of neither, you can choose to be part of both. But we want to leave it open so that you can. And then if you look down below, everyone will have a chance to inform the white paper in the afternoon. And that's when we will add the pieces that maybe weren't added as a result of the other discussions.
So just for curiosity's sake, how many people are going to go into, for session 1, go into the collaboration and sharing program assessment strategies? Okay, great. How many people are going to go into project and center sustainability strategies? Okay. How many people are going to go into white paper writing?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, great. And in terms of the second group, how many people will be going into planning individual and collective research? Cool. How about the plans for future collective work? Okay, and white paper?
He's going to fix my writing from the first half.
Okay. And, okay, well, I think we, feel free again to choose whatever you want here, even if there's just a couple people in a group, that's just fine. So if there are no other questions, let's adjourn to your appropriate rooms, and we'll see each other at 9:45 for the break. Is that right, Maggie? Great. Thanks.
Are you good with PCs? Can you switch those two? Can you do that? Oh, let's see.
And then I used to
I was gonna go to
somewhere
Sesame
between like,
Research, but not somewhere else.
No, I think I'm gonna, all you can do is, why don't you start out with the assessment strategies, and then come over and visit us here. Yeah, thanks, that would be useful. So white paper people, let's move over here.